Ready? Nope. Good morning. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. This includes the Mississaugas of Scugog Island, Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, Curve Lake First Nation, and the Chippewas of Georgina Island, Beausoleil, and Rama. We respectfully acknowledge that the Indigenous peoples are the original stewards and caretakers of Turtle Island. They continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure its health and integrity for generations to come. We offer our gratitude to the Indigenous communities for their care of and teachings about this land on which we have the privilege to live. As a company, OPG remains committed to developing positive and mutually beneficial relationships with the Indigenous communities that we work with. On behalf of OPG's employees and partners across Ontario, it's my great honor to welcome Prime Minister Mark Carney, Premier Doug Ford, Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy, Minister Tim Hodgson, and Durham MPP and Minister Todd McCarthy. And welcome to all of our special guests, including Mayor Foster and OPG Board Chair Wendy Key. I want to also acknowledge Minister Stephen Lecce and Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne, who could not be here with us today, but are very much a part of why we are here. Today, we're standing in front of a life-size mock-up of a nuclear reactor face. It's not representative of a small modular reactor, but it's where our SMR journey began. In this space and on this mock-up, hundreds of skilled trades workers, engineers, and project managers spent hundreds of hours planning and practicing for our Darlington Nuclear Refurbishment Project. With the finish line of this project very much in sight, the $12.9 billion refurbishment remains ahead of schedule and on budget. Beyond the 30 years of reliable clean energy, this project has given OPG so much more. It's honed our nuclear project skills. It's trained and equipped our nuclear workforce. It's reinvigorated the nuclear supply chain and taught us thousands of lessons on how to execute with safety, quality, and efficiency. And probably most importantly now, it gave OPG the confidence to take on SMRs, the first new nuclear build in more than 30 years. It occurred to me that two of Darlington's original units were actually commissioned and came online in 1993, which happens to be the last time the Jays won the World Series, so I'd say that's a pretty good sign. And today, at an adjacent site, work is well underway on the Darlington New Nuclear Project. It will feature 4 BWRX-300 SMRs, with the first unit targeted to be in service by the end of 2030. Once complete, the 4 SMRs will generate 1,200 megawatts of clean electricity, enough to power 1.2 million homes. And more than 80 companies supplying the project will be able to establish themselves as the leaders in the growing domestic and global markets for new nuclear technology. I want to express deep gratitude to the Prime Minister of Canada and the Premier of Ontario for their vision and unwavering support of nuclear energy, and for putting Canada's nuclear industry back on the global map. I also want to thank the Williams Treaty First Nations, especially Chief Hockaday, Chief Carr, Chief Laraka, and Chief Simpson. We look forward to continuing to work with you to build respective, collaborative relationships. And now let's get to the part of the batting order you're all waiting for. Please join me in welcoming Prime Minister Mark Carney to the podium.
Now, which one? We're going to say something very similar, but I might as well use my remarks. Thank you very much, Cole. It is a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be number 2 in the batting order before the slugger comes behind me. It's great to be in Bowmanville with all of you. Premier Ford, thank you for being here. Thank you for your leadership over these years. And let me just say a personal note. I deeply value the partnership that we have forged over the last 6 months in the interests of Ontarians and in the interests of Canadians. We are both focused on building a strong economy. We are laser focused on getting big projects, such as the one we're discussing today, we're launching today, getting those big projects built faster, and together delivering for the people of Ontario. Nicole, congratulations to you and your team at Ontario Power Generation for what you've accomplished in recent years with the refurbishment, being a driving force in clean energy in this province. You have big champions in the Premier and myself and our governments. Minister Hodgson, Minister Bethlenfalvy, Minister McCarthy, thank you for being here, and to my colleagues from the House, thank you for being here, the MPs from the region. You know, we're united in a mission to create new opportunities for workers and our businesses. We're united to build big, build bold, and build now. Last night, I was at the University of Ottawa, and I highlighted more of our new government's plan to build Canada strong, to transform our economy from one that has become too reliant on the United States to one that's stronger and more resilient, to take control of our future as Canadians. Because the world is increasingly dangerous and divided, and new technologies have brought distant threats to our door. And the trade war is causing massive economic uncertainty that is holding back investment and is costing jobs, including jobs here in Ontario. What we're experiencing is not a transition, it's a rupture. It's a sharp change in a very short period of time. And in order to confront those challenges, in order to emerge stronger, Canadians must chart a new course, our own course. Take control of our future, bet big on ourselves, and, like the Jays, play to win. Yeah. So, in a few weeks' time, on November 4th, we will table our first federal budget. It will make generational investments with a plan to protect our communities, our borders, and our way of life, to build an economy stronger, where everyone has a chance to get ahead, and to empower Canadians with new opportunities, with better careers, and lower cost of living. Our plan, first and foremost, is to build, so we can take control of our future, as I said. In the last 6 months, our government has been relentlessly focused on this mission. We started by creating the right conditions to get big things built faster. Notre plan consiste d'abord et avant tout à bâtir pour être maître de notre propre avenir. Au cours des 6 derniers mois, le nouveau gouvernement du Canada s'est concentré sans relâche sur cette mission. D'abord, nous créons les conditions propices à la réalisation des grands projets plus rapidement. Because for too long, the construction of major infrastructure projects has been stalled by an arduous, inefficient federal approval processes. Uncertainty, red tape, duplication, and complicated review processes have held that investment back, curbed investment. You know, to receive approval, major projects had to undergo numerous reviews and assessments that often happen one after another instead of all running in parallel. Say, OPG knows how to run processes in parallel. Our government should be able to run processes in parallel. For too long, when federal agencies examined a new project, their immediate question has been, why? We're changing that. We've changed that. Now, we ask, how? At the end of June, we passed the One Canadian Economy Act with bipartisan support. And it removes federal barriers to internal trade, and let me salute the Premier for his leadership as head of the Council of Federation in making that a priority. What that act also does is it fast-tracks the approvals of nation-building projects. In August, we opened what we call the Major Projects Office, which serves as a single point of contact to get nation-building projects built faster. Projects that will turbocharge our economy. Projects which will help Canadians export to new partners around the world. Projects that will create hundreds of thousands, not of just jobs, hundreds of thousands of high-paying careers, good union careers for Canadian workers. In September, we announced the first group, the first tranche of these projects that we referred to the Major Projects Office for accelerated deployment. On top of that list is the new Darlington nuclear project. And today, that's why we're here, to make a generational investment. An investment that will extend Canada's world leadership in clean energy. We are an energy superpower, and we are only getting stronger. This project will make us the first in the G7 to have an entirely new kind of nuclear reactor. Aujourd'hui, nous réalisons un investissement sans précédent pour faire du Canada un leader mondial de l'énergie propre, pour faire de nous le premier pays du G7 à disposer d'un nouveau type de réacteur nucléaire. Canada's new government is putting forward $2 billion to build new clean energy technology, the first of its kind in Canada. And with the Canada Growth Fund, and I want to salute Deborah Rita, the CEO of PSP, who oversees the Canada Growth Fund. With the Canada Growth Fund, we are building 4 small modular reactors, technology that will power homes in Ontario with clean energy. Once built, each new reactor will be able to power 300,000 homes with that clean energy, keeping your lights on and keeping your air clean. This project alone, the first phase of this project, will drive $500 million annually into Ontario's nuclear supply chain, the supply chain Nicole just referenced that has been renewed and reinforced. And it will position Canada as the global leader in the deployment of small modular reactors, a leadership we can take to other markets. La technologie propre, c'est l'avenir. Et le Canada, en étant l'une des premières à concevoir et à adopter cette technologie, va pouvoir soutenir la concurrence dans l'économie mondiale. Afin de renforcer l'avantage du Canada en matière de durabilité, nous lançons une nouvelle stratégie de compétitivité climatique qui va nous aider à réduire nos émissions, à être plus innovateurs et à être un leader mondial des technologies propres. The Darlington New Nuclear Project will sustain 3,700 jobs annually, including 18,000 additional jobs during construction. Those 3,700 jobs, they'll extend over the next 65 years. A couple of more World Series trips for the Jays. Jobs like the plant workers who are here with us today, fulfilling careers in the trades, working to provide Ontario families with power. Now, that building doesn't only create those jobs, it also supports our industries. And with our Buy Canadian policy, when we build, we will be our own best customer. And I want to salute this project because over 80% of the procurement for this project will be from within Canada. Nos grands projets seront réalisés à l'aide de l'acier de l'Ontario, de l'aluminium du Québec et de bois d'œuvre de la Colombie-Britannique. Nous allons les réaliser avec les ressources et des minéraux critiques venant de partout au pays, y compris le Ring of Fire, ce qui va nous permettre de soutenir les industries et les travailleurs du Canada. Quand nous réalisons des projets au Canada, nous aidons les industries canadiennes, les travailleurs canadiens et les familles canadiennes. Now, I opened my comments by reminding you that Canada's federal government will table our budget in 2 weeks. And in that budget, we're going to have to make responsible choices, difficult choices, pragmatic choices. We will do less of some of the things we want to do so we can do more of what we must do to build a bigger, better Canada. So we can invest in the infrastructure and the industries that grow our economy. Nous allons faire les investissements nécessaires pour protéger nos communautés, pour que vous puissiez vous sentir en sécurité dans votre quartier. Quand une communauté est sécuritaire, les gens, les familles veulent s'y enraciner, s'y trouver un chez-soi, y avoir une carrière gratifiante et veiller à ce que les enfants aient une bonne éducation. Ces conditions nous aident à nous sentir en sécurité et maîtres de notre propre vie et à comprendre que si on travaille fort, on va réussir. We're making decisions that empower Canadians with better careers, lower costs, and more choices so you can build the future that you want. We're creating high-paying union careers in Canada. We'll unlock new apprenticeships and skills training programs, so whether you're switching jobs or just starting out. And we'll also launch a new talent strategy for the next generation of scientists and innovators to build their careers here in Canada. Nous allons miser sur le talent canadien pour que la prochaine génération de travailleurs d'innovateurs puisse faire carrière au Canada. Nous allons créer de nouvelles industries et de nouveaux marchés, et vous aurez donc toutes les compétences voulues pour saisir ces occasions. This country has always been a nation of builders. In the 70s, we built the CN Tower, the tallest in the world, a symbol of Canadian innovation. In the 90s, we connected PEI in New Brunswick with the Confederation Bridge, spanning an incredible 13 kilometers. Decades before, we built the St. Lawrence Seaway in just 5 years. It cost $340 million back in 1959. That's about $3.5 billion in today's money. But that seaway has moved more than $1 trillion of cargo since. It's created tens of thousands of jobs for Canadians, welders, manufacturers, business owners. The point is, when we bet big on ourselves, when we bet big on the type of infrastructure we're talking about today, we realize the benefit as Ontarians, as Canadians, for generations. This Darlington plant won't only build clean technology, it will build Bowmanville, creating high-paying careers and helping families around here get ahead. Look, we used to build things in this country. Now we're building again. Together, we're building Ontario strong. Together, we're building Canada strong. Thank you. Merci. Merci beaucoup. And it's now my great pleasure to give you the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here, and thank you, Prime Minister, for that kind introduction. I also want to thank Nicole and all the hard-working men and women standing right behind me and everyone else at OPG. You're all absolute champions. Who keep the lights on in homes across Ontario, as well as 1.5 million homes south of the border. I always say we keep lights on in New York and Michigan and up in Minnesota, and I always say, let's take care of our own first, but we're going to have enough energy, not just to send around the world with SMRs, but large-scale nuclear, send it down south. There's nowhere else I'd want to send it to than our closest friend and ally. And I'm thrilled to be here today alongside Minister Bethlenfalvy, the Minister of Finance. I call him the Minister of Money. So, Nicole, we have to be nice to that guy because he controls all the money. His pockets go all the way down to his ankles, tight as skin on a grape. Minister Oosterhoff was... yeah, exactly. Minister Oosterhoff, which is doing a great job in energy right across our province. And Minister McCarthy, You're wearing a double hats now. You're interim Minister of Infrastructure as well as Minister of Environment, and thank you for everything you're doing. And you're a hometown boy around here, so we appreciate it, as well as Minister Hodgson and Mayor Foster. I have to tell you something about Tim Hodgson. The guy's an absolute champion. He was a chair of Ontario Hydro. We appreciate everything that you did, Tim. One of his many all-stars. This guy, I'll tell you, didn't they call him killer on the floor?
We did.
Yeah. Take that same approach to government, Tim. I also want to acknowledge our Minister of Energy, Stephen Lecce, who couldn't be here today, and he was pretty bummed out he couldn't make it here. But what Minister Lecce is doing, he's in Nova Scotia with his own important announcement, helping build momentum for SMRs and nuclear power in Atlantic Canada and across the country. So we can use Ontario's nuclear advantage to build a stronger and more united Canada. Friends, this is a critical moment for our province and our country. President Trump is taking direct aim at Canada's economy, workers, and businesses. It's never been more important for us all to pull together to protect Ontario and protect Canada by building a more competitive, resilient, and self-reliant economy that can keep workers on the job no matter what. We're here today at Darlington Nuclear Generating Station, which has been safely and reliably powering Ontario's economy for more than 35 years. Along with the Pickering and Bruce stations, Darlington has made Ontario a global leader, producing safe, reliable, clean, and affordable nuclear energy. And with energy demand in Ontario expected to increase dramatically, we're building on that success. For starters, as the Prime Minister mentioned, we're building the first SMRs in the G7. Matter of fact, we're leading the G7 in building SMRs right here at Darlington, with construction already underway. It's an incredible achievement, but it's only the first step. As work continues, I'm pleased to announce that Ontario is investing up to $1 billion through the Building Ontario Fund to support the construction of these SMRs. And I'm absolutely thrilled that the federal government is stepping up with its own investment of $2 billion. It shows what we can accomplish when Canadians work together across provinces and across party lines. I've always said I don't give two hoots what color of stripe people come from, as long as they work together and collaborate together. And I couldn't ask for a better champion than the person right behind me. He feels the same way. And we're going to do powerful things together and give people hope and show them the future of a strong economy. Because when Canadians work together, we can stand up to anything and anyone, including President Trump. Today's a great first step, but it's also just a down payment. To unlock Ontario's full potential, the SMRs being built at Darlington will help create more than 18,000 Canadian jobs during construction and add more than $38 billion to Canada's GDP over the next 65 years. We're also making sure that at least 80% of the project spending goes to Ontario companies, and we're using Ontario products at every opportunity so that Ontario tax dollars support Ontario workers. That includes using steel made here in the province by Ontario steel workers to build the new SMRs. With tariffs and economic uncertainty hammering Ontario's workers and businesses, this is exactly the sort of investment our province needs. But we need to do even more. That's why we have a plan to expand Ontario's nuclear energy capacity and continue making our province an energy superpower, not just in North America or Canada, but around the world. We're already upgrading and refurbishing the large-scale reactors here in Darlington and at Bruce Power, and we're looking to do the same in Pickering. And we're working with local communities and First Nations to build the first new large-scale nuclear reactors in Canada at Wesleyville in more than 30 years. The benefits of our plan to expand nuclear power are enormous and will produce close to 80,000 jobs and $162 billion added to our GDP during construction, and another 64,000 jobs and $633 billion during operations, and 28,000 megawatts of electricity added to our grid. That's enough to power 28 million homes, including every home in Ontario, with energy left over to export across Canada and to the US to power millions more. And with tariffs taking aim at Ontario, our plan to go big on nuclear will help impacted workers find new, good-paying jobs right here in Ontario. As Ontario builds new nuclear, we're inviting the federal government, and that's a formal invitation, by the way, Prime Minister. We're inviting the federal government to be a partner to help us get it done. In the meantime, our government is doubling down on our plan to protect Ontario, to make our province the most competitive, most resilient, the most self-reliant economy in the G7, so we can continue to attract new jobs and investments and protect our workers. We're cutting red tape to speed up approvals, and we're asking the federal government to do the same. We're also working with the federal government on a coordinated approach to fund important projects like this one, to bring certainty to governments, to protect our balance sheets, to protect ratepayers, and encourage other partners like the Canadian pension funds to participate and invest in these transformational nation-building projects. I'm going to repeat that. We need the support of the pension funds. So hopefully they're listening. I look forward to working with the Prime Minister to share more information as soon as we can. Our government will leave no stone unturned in our mission to protect workers and families. Here in our great province, we have the talent, the resources, and the energy to stand up to anything that comes our way. We'll deliver on our plan to build a stronger, more prosperous Ontario for decades to come. I want to thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario, and may God bless the people of Canada. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We're now going to begin the question portion of the press conference. Please name your outlet, your name, and specify who the question is to, please. First question, première question.
Oui, bonjour, Andréane Williams, Radio-Canada. Ma question est pour Minister Carney. I'll ask the question in French and English for my colleagues. If you could answer in both languages, that'd be great. Est-ce que vos rencontres avec les chefs de l'opposition hier ont fait en sorte que vous allez modifier des éléments de votre budget? Did your meeting with the opposition leader yesterday make you decide to modify any part of your budget?
Merci pour votre question, dans les deux langues officielles même. Et nous sommes dans une situation, comme le Premier ministre de l'Ontario vient de souligner, une situation avec plusieurs défis à cause de la guerre tarifaire américaine. Et il faut agir. Il faut bâtir notre économie, il faut avoir un plan audacieux. En même temps, il faut réduire le gaspillage, la duplication dans les dépenses à l'échelle du gouvernement fédéral. Et on va faire les deux. On va dépenser moins afin que les Canadiens, y compris l'Ontario, puissent investir plus. Okay? Ce sera un budget pour le moment. Ce sera un budget avec beaucoup d'ambition. Un budget que nous mettent chez nous. Et j'invite les partis, d'autres membres du Parlement de voter pour le budget. Et nous sommes ouverts pour les bonnes idées. Pas des chicanes, pas des slogans, mais des bonnes idées afin d'atteindre ces objectifs pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Look, as the Premier just emphasized, we face big challenges because of the tariff war. Here in Ontario, I think the term was hammering jobs. And we're laser focused on having a response that makes us control brings control back to be masters in our own home. For the federal budget, that means several things. It means this has to be an ambitious, bold budget that's focused on building this economy. And we will do everything that it takes in order to do that, from reducing red tape to making generational investments that crowd in hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of private investment here in Ontario and across Canada, including investment, as the Premier mentioned, I'm sure, from the pension funds of Canada, but more broadly. While we do that, we also need to get a control of federal spending. We will eliminate duplication. We'll eliminate waste. We will do more with less. So we're going to take some tough and we'll take some difficult decisions. We'll spend less, we'll invest more. We welcome good ideas from the opposition parties. But above all, and when they come, we will incorporate them in the budget. Above all, though, to be clear, we will do what's necessary for this moment. This will be a bold budget, and we invite the opposition parties and members of Parliament to stand up for Canada and to support the budget going forward. Thank you.
Next question, question Kissa.
Doug Boyd, Rogers TV. This question is for both of you. Just with GM down the road 10 minutes from here, what's your message to the workers there with all these automotive jobs leaving this country, this province, and heading to the States? What if that does happen? What will your government do for these workers and for the municipalities?
Okay, so there's several aspects. Let me start, and the Premier will answer. The first is specifically with respect to the plant. There are obligations that GM has specifically to the workers and payments to the workers under the collective bargaining agreement. We've been discussing directly with the company and coordinating with the province of Ontario. GM is going to honor those obligations. That's the simple and most direct thing. The second thing, though, is we're not satisfied with that because the question is we're working hard for what else can be done with the plant, a different model. Could it be incorporated in terms of our defense industrial strategy, other opportunities for that plant and for those workers. Then there is the broader issue in terms of the auto sector and working hard to get the best deal. I mean, the reality is that it is two things are true. The situation in terms of U.S. tariffs have changed dramatically in several of our most important industries, particularly in the auto sector. That is one point, and that's causing a number of these challenges, although specifically with respect to the GM plant, it was as much about a model that didn't work as it was about the tariff situation, but they have to deal with the tariff situation. So that's one thing. At the same time, we pay the lowest tariffs on autos and auto parts into the United States. The point is so we have the best deal with respect to autos, but we have to work to get it even better. It starts with working up the supply chain on steel and aluminum. We go to that. So it's part of a bigger set of negotiations with the Americans, which we're working hard to do. But the biggest point, so those are the elements we're doing, but the biggest point is why we're here today. We can control the power here in Ontario. We can control the technological innovation that makes these SMRs possible. We can create tens and tens, and we are creating tens and tens of thousands of jobs here in Ontario that extends the leadership of Ontario and of Canada in clean energy and being an energy superpower. And guess what? That is not just going to keep the lights on in millions of homes here in Ontario, every home, ultimately, when the full strategy is in place. But it's going to attract new manufacturing. It's going to attract new businesses, everything from agriculture to AI, and create those generational opportunities for province. And that's what we're focused on. At the same time, we're dealing with the immediate issues. And Premier, please.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. First of all, I'm never going to give up on our workers up in Oshawa or Ingersoll. There's always new opportunities. I remember the last time GM, they closed down. And then they opened up and did the fastest build they've ever done in the history of that company. I just have to remind the President and CEO of General Motors, you'll be held accountable. We have an agreement with you. You're going to be held accountable with our uniform members and accountable for the agreement that we put together. And also, I want to remind them that Canadians, we buy close to anywhere from 280,000 to 300,000 cars, General Motor products. I highly recommend, when you have your largest customer in the world, and we are your largest customer in the world when it comes to buying autos, we buy 400% more autos than any jurisdiction anywhere in the entire world. Over 800,000 vehicles we buy from the U.S., and the ones we make here and we ship down there, 50% of them are made with American parts. So they need to think long and hard, or they're going to lose the support of the Canadian people from coast to coast to coast. But we're going to continue working, and I have faith with General Motors that they may have a change of mind, because we have the best auto workers anywhere in the entire world. We produce more quality cars faster, quicker than anywhere in the world. And the American automakers, they're losing billions of dollars, because as we know, parts go back and forth across the border 6, 7, 8 times before it gets assembled here in Ontario or down in Michigan. And I always say, the auto pack's been around since the 1960s. You can't unscramble an egg, you have to make the omelet larger. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the AmCan Fortress, the American-Canadian Fortress, that strengthens our auto sector, manufacturing sector, against countries like China. The only people that win in a tariff war are the people around the world that don't necessarily see eye to eye with us and with the United States. So we need to stick together. That's my message to General Motors. And as for the uniform members, I'll always be there, always support you any which way we can.
Question, prochaine question.
It's Patrick, CBC News. This is a question for Prime Minister Carney. You just said in your remarks, and you said it last night in your speech as well, that we'll have to do less of some of the things that we want to do. So what are some of those things, Prime Minister?
Look, we'll have a budget, and all aspects of the budget will reveal that. We'll have to move more slowly on certain aspects of well, you know what? I think we should, why don't I not scoop the budget, and we'll let it come out through the budget. The point is, we've been clear about maintaining our transfers to individuals. We've been clear, and I've listed a number of them on multiple occasions, about the support we give to Canadians. This is the time to maintain support to Canadians, particularly those the most vulnerable in our society. So whether it's health transfers to the provinces or child care support, including working together with the province of Ontario, dental care, national school food program, which we just made permanent, helping 400,000 kids in the most vulnerable families in our country, and on. We're going to maintain those. The question is, what, there's certain demands or desires to expand in different areas, and we won't be able to move as quickly as we otherwise would, because there's certain things we must do to take back control and to build this country. En français, premièrement, tous les détails seront dévoilés dans le budget actuel. Alors, ce n'est pas nécessairement le moment de choisir des choses. Mais nous sommes clairs qu'on va protéger des grands programmes sociaux. Par exemple, les transferts de la santé pour aider des enfants, pour le programme national de la nourriture et tout cela. Mais ce qui est nécessaire à ce moment-ci, c'est de bâtir notre économie, de créer des bons jobs et à travers le Canada, et on va le faire. Merci.
Next question. Prochaine question.
Good morning, Mark McAllister from City News. Apologies for the microphone.
That's right.
A question for you both, if you would. When it comes to U.S. trade negotiations, Premier Ford, you had suggested that it was important to hit back hard if those negotiations weren't going well. Prime Minister, you had said now's the time to talk and not necessarily do something like that. How close are you in terms of making sure you're on the same page in dealing with the U.S. and that you're handling things similarly?
Well, I can assure you, we're on the same page. We have one goal, is to protect the people of Canada, protect the people of Ontario, protect their communities, their jobs, their businesses. We're 100% on the same page. It might be a little easier for me to sit here and say what I say, but it's a lot tougher when someone's sitting across from Donald Trump and he has a big hammer in his hand. So I support the Prime Minister 1,000%. But there will be a point that, you know, if they can't make a deal with us, and, you know, the Prime Minister has been around. I always say he's an extremely bright business person, has made massive deals in the private sector. I have all the confidence he's going to get this deal done. But the message that we're sending is really the Ronald Reagan's message that we're sending out very clearly. Protectionism does not work. A tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans, and that's the message. And do I always believe we should be tough? 100% we should be tough. But again, I have the confidence in the Prime Minister. I'll always have his back, and we are on the same page.
Yeah, I will echo that. We are on the same page. We speak regularly, as I do with the other premiers. For example, I'm speaking with Premier Legault, Premier Minister Legault later today. First point. Secondly, where we are focused is getting the best deal for Canadian workers. We will always stand up for Canadian workers. Now, in the situation we're in right now with the United States, with the negotiations we're having with the United States, is we're having very detailed, specific, constructive negotiations for the steel industry, the aluminum industry. There's elements of the energy industry, a few other components in there, because the Americans are moving to an approach which is sector by sector as opposed to global. And the Premier and I and the other premiers were very conscious that there will be a review of our overall agreement, the CUSMA agreement with the U.S. and Mexico, that's coming up in a few months' time, and so broader aspects will be brought there. But let's be clear about, if we ultimately don't make progress in these various sectors, we're going to do what's necessary to protect our workers. And part of that is building. It starts with building, taking the control there. But it's also not having unfair access to our market if we don't have access to another market. We're not at that point, but we'll do what's right in lockstep together. Thank you.
Next.
En français ici. Alors, nous sommes à la même page. Ça, c'est le point de début, point de départ. Deuxièmement, notre objectif est d'avoir le meilleur accord pour nos travailleurs. Et à ce moment-ci, nous sommes dans des négociations très détaillées, très intensives, constructives pour le secteur de l'acier, l'aluminium, quelques aspects de l'énergie. Et les Américains ne cherchent pas à ce moment-ci, pour n'importe quel pays, des accords globaux. C'est des accords dans les secteurs très spécifiques. Mais dans quelques mois, il y aura les négociations de l'ACM, la revue de l'ACM. Et à ce moment-là, il y a l'occasion d'avoir une plus grande accord. Point final. Monsieur le Premier ministre Ford et moi, tous les premiers ministres, on va protéger nos travailleurs. Et s'il est le cas que les Américains aient l'accès à notre marché d'une manière qui n'est pas appropriée par rapport à notre accès à leur marché, on va changer les termes. Mais ce n'est pas le cas à ce moment-ci.
Next question. Question, Gissa.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News. Question for Prime Minister Carney. The Premier has said he believes that you will adopt his tunnel under Highway 401 as a nation-building project. Is that something you are prepared to do?
Well, look, we're having discussions, we're sequencing the discussions with the province of Ontario and all the provinces on big infrastructure projects that do multiple things. They unlock big economic benefits for Canada. Ideally, they connect different parts of the country in ways that create even further opportunities. They're aligned with our climate objectives. They have meaningful Indigenous participation, as is the case here. So we look for all of those aspects. We began with this project. We have a number of things that we're discussing for the next group of projects that will be announced by Grey Cup. And so there's a sequence here. We are just getting started, to be clear. These are major, major projects. But this is just the start of the ambition, and I think Canadians can feel confident that this country, this province, has more than enough opportunity and ambition and firepower to give ourselves far more than the Americans are taking away, regardless of what happens with negotiation. Thank you.
Next question. Question, Kissa.
Moya Dillon, Metroland. This is for Premier Ford. I was wondering if you have any update or a timeline on completion for the Bowmanville GO extension.
Well, the Bowmanville GO, we're going full steam. Do you want to handle that? Go ahead, Todd. You got to talk to the Bowmanville guy.
I'm happy to report that the Bowmanville GO train extension is very much on track, literally and figuratively. So the investment's been made. The commitment was made with the Premier by my side in mid-2022, and I'm fortunate to sit not only at the Cabinet table but on Treasury Board, Management Board of Cabinet, and we are absolutely committed to this extension. It's a part of our overall investment in public transit. It's essential to keep the people of Ontario moving, and Durham Region, where we are today, in Bowmanville, is one of the fastest growing areas of the province, so it's essential. And Bowmanville gets a lot of attention because it's part of our growth plan. So I look forward to reporting in more detail in the months to come. Thanks very much.
Thank you. We'll have time for one last question. Dernière question.
Good morning. Nathaniel Dove from Global News. My question is mostly for the Prime Minister, but hoping the Premier can weigh in at the end of it. Prime Minister, given your commitment last night to see non-U.S. exports eventually double, how does today's announcement fit into achieving that objective? Have there been any interest or commitments from Europeans on this project? Wondering what the exports would also mean for the Premier.
Well, there's a couple. I'll say a couple of things. First, not just eventually double within the next decade, so much more specific. And you set a goal, but you got to have strategies that are consistent with that goal. So part of those strategies that are consistent with the goal are new energy and trade corridors. So Minister Hodgson's here, a series of LNG and other opportunities, reinforcing of the Port of Montreal, Contrecoeur, one of the projects alongside this that we're doing that's creating more capacity. You're going to see a lot more Grays Bay Port in Nunavut, as well as just so creating capacity so we can export more. You got to do that in order to have it happen. As I say, you'll see more on that. Then what are we exporting more of? It can be critical minerals from the Ring of Fire and building that up. We're working closely in terms of unlocking that enormous potential that is here. It's manufacturing capability that comes here. Let me bring it back to this element. This will further improve the energy competitiveness of Ontario. So yes, it's heating homes, but you've got an energy surplus that's being built in Ontario. Some of that energy can be exported to the United States. Obviously, some is already, and some more could be. But also, if there's better uses of it here at home, for example, for manufacturing, for artificial intelligence development that then gets exported around the world, that's an opportunity there as well. But point that's crucial is this is about also establishing leadership in the technology. And the technology and that expertise housed in the men and women behind me and their counterparts, housed in companies like GE, Hitachi, and the supply chain through here, housed in other elements of the Canadian nuclear, all the way back to Cameco, who will be supplying the fuel. those are exports. That creates a competitiveness in an export for generations, capability for generations. So first and foremost, as always is the case, we're looking out for the workers and the families right here, but the opportunities it creates and the spillover benefits are enormous. So now, having, you know, I don't know if that's a single or a double, but I think I got on base with that answer. And I'm now going to hand over to the cleanup hitter to finish it off.
Well, first of all, we have a great minister, Minister Lecce, working well with Minister Hodgson. We've signed MOUs over in Europe. One in particular stands out in Poland. We can, as we ramp the production up over a number of years, we'll be able to ship these SMRs all over the world. But most importantly, we're going to take care of our province. We're going to take care of other jurisdictions across Canada. We could put an SMR up into a mining project rather than building 1,200 kilometers of transmission lines. It will eliminate that, and it'll just make us more competitive around the world. We'll be competitive when it comes to critical minerals and energy. But I always say the foundation of everything we do, be it healthcare, education, infrastructure, is one thing. That's our economy. And without a strong economy, none of us can put money into those other sectors. But I'm 100% confident that we're going to get through this little bump in the road. We're going to be more prosperous, stronger, wealthiest nation in the entire world because we work together. We work collaboratively together. That is key to any success, is when you have two levels of government, and even municipal governments as well, all working together. So I just want to thank Nicole, everyone from OPG. I want to thank the partnership that we built over the last 6 months with the Prime Minister. And as the Prime Minister said, we're just starting. We're going to blaze a new trail from coast to coast to coast, and Ontario is going to play a massive part in it. So I want to thank everyone, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you. This puts an end to our press conference. C'est ce qui met fin à notre conférence de presse. Merci. Thank you.
Oh, go Jays, go! I'm gonna be sitting in my man cave because I'm not paying whatever $1,500 for a ticket. And by the way, those ticket gougers, they're going to pay the price. We're going to get to them, but I'm going to sit out in the man cave and watch the game. Oh, I'm going to be realistic, so I'll say the Jays in 6. Yeah, I'll say Jays in 6.
Yeah, that's like, yeah. Look, it's going to be. I was going to say I will second that, Jays in 6, but it's going to, yeah, it's going to go deep. It's going to be it's going to be a great series. But we've got depth, we've got fire. You see the performance. It's going to be fantastic. I'll be watching in, I don't know, man caves in Asian. I'll be in Asian man caves for some reason. I've got like the world's worst timed trip. Yes.
We have cigars in my man cave.
The best with the U.S. You know, it's funny. They haven't called. I think they're scared. I think your leadership is scared to bet. Look, I talked to the president. We are in contact, frequent contact. I look forward to seeing the president in Asia at APEC. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, everyone.